Go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Do It Live. From an undisclosed location, I'm Bill Woodcock.
And from a different undisclosed location, I'm James Howard. Bill, I'm picking up some feedback on your line too, so make sure that you got your mic in a good place.
Well, my mic's always in a good place. My question for you is your mic in a good place?
I can't answer that. That's personal.
Yeah, so I see how this works. So I believe may have been some interference from my phone, so I am turning my phone off. So hopefully that'll solve the technical difficulty. So thank you, everybody. And tonight we have three wonderful topics for you. We have the rebuild of the Democratic National Committee. This will solve the technical difficulty. So thank you, everybody. What are you doing? Did you just have me on? You just had me on speaker.
Yeah, it was an accident. Sorry.
I try not to have accidents.
You know, I'm just going to point out here. This is an amateur.
What?
This is an amateur broadcast.
It is an amateur broadcast. So the rebuild of the DNC this fortnight in 45istan, although really, why couldn't we just spend 15 minutes talking about the last 2 days? In fact, we might. And then 007 toddler style. So if that hasn't wet your whistle, I don't know what will. But first things first. And Jamie, we have seen, Democrats are the symbol may be the donkey, but sometimes I think the Democratic symbol should just be a great big giant belly, because, a big Buddha-esque belly because of the amount of navel gazing that goes on. And the latest bit of Democratic navel gazing nationwide happened last week with the election, or actually the weekend before last, with the election of the Democratic National Committee chairperson. And in that election, it was very closely contested between former Labor Secretary Tom Perez, who was a former Montgomery County councilperson, and Keith Ellison, who is a U.S. representative. And if I believe correctly, is he not the first Muslim congressperson? He's an African-American Muslim, is he not?
He is, yes. And Secretary Perez was on the Montgomery County Council?
Yes.
Oh, that's somewhat relieving. I mean, and Welch's County Council, there'd been some criticism that he'd never held any elected office before. So I think that's good to know.
Yeah. So this was seen as the establishment Democratic Party versus the Bernie wing of the Democratic Party, and there was a lot of dissension and dismay expressed after the election, which Perez won. That the voice of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party was not yet heard yet. Yet, of course, the non-progressive wing of the Democratic Party would still be better than the Trumpian wing of the Trump Party, as we have a live audience for the first time ever. I love this. So, Jamie, what say you to this latest edition of Democratic navel gazing, or are you simply going to add to the lint?
Can't I add to the lint? I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes.
There's a visitor over here. I think you saw on the back screen. Also, hey, for some odd reason, it's not kicking me over to show me. Oh, there we go. So I think that one of the things that we need to do is consider the issue with the lint.
That is awesome. We're going to get to you later in this show, young lady.
Yes, Ducky. We're going to talk about you later.
You later. Democrat.
It's fun. It's like being on the Today Show where you got the people in the back all the time, right?
It's all the way up.
I can see you, Ducky. I see you right there.
You're both far more professional than Savannah Guthrie.
It's also more professional than anything on Fox News. But
true.
But it's also smarter than anything you're going to hear on Fox News. I think that the navel gazing is I'm not impressed by any of the candidates we saw for chairman. I think that there's a large problem we'll see in the long term where we don't have any of these people who are committed to really changing the way the party works and the way the party functions. And those being two parallel things. Ducky, calm down. I can see you. And when we see, how do I want to say this? I think in the long term, they won't necessarily be able to put the party back together and create a party that's going to be, I mean, there are multiple theories we've been seeing here with the Republican Party, and that they're either resurgent, in case there needs to be something that comes back against them. And the other part of that problem is that
this is amazingly cute, by the way. It's hard to have a serious discussion when there's amazing cuteness going on.
So
Steve Bannon is not doing this right now. I'm just telling you.
No, that's because he doesn't have this much personality, or
Steve Bannon ever loved anything? That's what I'm wondering. Other than liquor, has Steve Bannon ever loved anything?
And well, no. But anyway, so as I was saying, I mean, I think that there needs to be a long-term trend to develop within the party that develops kind of truly a big tent atmosphere. I one of the things, and I've said this to you privately for about a couple of years now, is that the Democratic Party needs to get together behind a slogan, for lack of a better way of putting it, that really moves the party forward. And that's the one I've always liked, is building a better future for ourselves and our children. I mean, nobody could ever argue with that. And that's what the Democratic Party is supposed to be about. But they have absolutely no meaningful way of communicating that today or ever. And right now, we see that the Republican Party is dominated by 14 words, and that's not healthy. That doesn't work for the whole country. That only works for a small portion of it, and an ever smaller growing portion of this country. I think that the Democratic Party needs to be able to tell us a story, tell us why it's going to make our lives better, why it wants to make our lives better, and how it will make our lives better. And it doesn't matter who's chairman. Until they can do that, it's not going to happen.
I couldn't agree with you more. And a few things I'll offer. My blood curdled today when I saw Nancy Pelosi on one of the shows this morning on CNN. And she was asked about the Democratic congressman who made the statement about the Kellyanne Conway picture of her kneeling on the couch of the Oval Office. And this congressman made a comment to the effect of, well, she looks very natural kneeling on this couch in the Oval Office. That's an offensive comment, regardless of who you are. And Nancy Pelosi was asked to renounce this comment and criticize this congressperson. And she instead turned to a response about, well, I can't believe after watching the Access Hollywood video that Donald Trump is the president. That's the wrong answer. You can be both. You can both criticize Trump for his nonsense, but you can also say that when we exhibit nonsense, that needs to be called out as well. So that's one thing I have. And that she doesn't do that shows how out of office the top elected office holders in the Democratic Party are, I think, with rank and file people. The other thing I did was I looked at how the Democratic Party had been successful over recent years, and that was to actually go out and work in the grassroots. I was not a big fan of Howard Dean when he ran for president, but when he established a 50-state strategy, Democrats were very successful on the levels where they needed to be. On the state legislature level, on the local elected official level, in terms of getting ballot initiatives passed. And that's where the party needs to be. We did precious little to no party building during the Obama years, and we need to be about building the party. Now, can we go back? Now, we were in a similar situation after the 1998 elections, third straight election of a Republican administration, and we won the White House again in '92. Can that happen again? Sure, but it's going to take a concerted effort. I like Tom Perez. I think he's a decent choice. He seems like a decent guy. He seems to have been a very good Secretary of Labor. So we'll see how serious this group is. They did just get elected. We'll see how serious they are about actually building a program, or if they're just going to take potshots at Trump for the next 2 years. If they do the latter, I don't think they're going to get the electoral results that they're looking for. If they do the former, if they give people a real alternative of what to vote for, they have a lot better chance.
I think that, taking pot shots at Obama worked for 8 years. I mean, it's a surprisingly successful campaign strategy. People don't care. All you do is make yourself look better than the other guy, or more to the point, make the other guy look worse than you do.
Well, to what extent do you mean?
Well, I mean, ask me that question a different way.
I'm asking you the question the way I asked you the question. How do you mean that? I would differ then that that's what they did that made themselves successful in state legislative races. They didn't win 1,000 state legislative races by taking pot shots at Obama. They won state legislative races and state legislative houses because they presented solutions for the people of their states. Including, by the way, the state of Maryland, which has had 2 out of the last 4 elected governors be Republicans.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, think back to what solutions are being offered. I mean, are we talking about the Kansas plan, the one that's destroyed the state? I mean, Kansas right now is a place where the schools are such a train wreck that the courts have had to order the legislature to put more money into the schools. This is a state where there's absolutely no money to fund public services, and businesses are running away as fast as they can.
Kansas is a state that I don't even think it's voted for a Democrat for president in my lifetime, and it's probably been a good 20 years since it had a Democratic senator. I'm looking at this state. I'm looking at this state. The Democrats that have been effective in getting elected statewide, Ehrlich and Larry Hogan, have run on very simple platforms. Now, whether or not you agree with them, whether or not they are successful in carrying them out, okay, you can talk about that. But their platforms have been very simple, very populist, and very oriented towards what people are worried about at their dining room table. Every time that a Democratic candidate throws a 15-point plan at the Republican counterpart, or 2, simply runs to demonize their Republican opponent, they lose. Yet that is the game plan. That's the playbook we run election after election after election. And the experience that we have locally and statewide, I'm sure it happens in pretty much every state in this country, and it's ridiculous.
It goes back to, I hate to quote Aaron Sorkin because the guy's kind of, overdone, but it's that first episode of The Newsroom where somebody says, if Democrats are so smart, why do they lose so goddamn always? And that's a great question. I think that we need to understand better, how to present a message that is simple and easy to digest.
Yeah, I agree. And I believe that we're too smart for our own good.
I mean, I'm starting to wonder if at this point Democrats just need to start telling people, you're not going to understand it, so just let us worry about it. Let the grown-ups deal with it.
Well, they probably don't need to tell them that in those words, but I'm pretty sure I've heard this. I'm pretty sure I've heard this from Trump surrogates in the past 6 weeks. A boiled down populist-based message is probably what we need. We probably need to stand for no more than 3 things. What those 3 things are, I'm not sure.
Obviously, lawyers, guns, and money.
Oh, get me out of this. That's a perfect segue into issue number 2. So let's take pot shots at Trump for the next 10 minutes or so. Is that really what we're doing? What did you think about his speech Wednesday night? What was that?
What was what?
You have a soundboard now? It sounded like a crash.
Oh, no, it was just me clicking over to my camera.
Oh, okay.
I was about to say something. I left it on you because for some odd reason, we're having a lot of technical difficulty tonight. And one of them is the camera's not going back and forth automatically like it normally does.
Is it on you or is it on me?
Well, right now it's on me, but I've been moving it back and forth whenever somebody's talking.
Okay.
So that's one of the problems.
Yeah, Google Hangouts has updated everybody, and it did not update in a good way.
Also, we're having.
We found that out. Plus, there's random people running around.
Yeah, I know, and they're so short, I can't catch them. I try to reach out and grab them, and they just slide under my arm.
They are gnomic.
They're gnome, but they're more elven than gnomic. But you know.
What'd you think of the speech?
So I'm going to say this about it. I didn't pay. I never heard it. I didn't pay any attention.
You know, he did have a speech.
Yeah, something about that. I didn't. You know, I didn't need a trip to the hospital after hearing even a summary of it. Yeah, I was worried.
Well, allow me to opine.
Please don't make me burst a blood vessel, though.
Because I did hear the speech. I did hear it in its entirety, and I actually thought, despite disagreeing with a large portion of it, I actually thought it was a well articulated and very well presented speech. I thought he certainly should have had command of the subject matter, because it was basically his stump speech that he had been using for the last 20 months turned into a presidential address. So without a lot of the nonsense and blather and hyperbole, it was not altogether long on specifics, as one would expect. But it sounded good. It played in Peoria, as the people say, and it gave. I believe what we saw was the Trump honeymoon.
So,
and the Trump honeymoon lasted about 48 hours, because maybe 36, because 36 hours later, here comes Jeff Sessions with extra meetings with the Russians that we didn't know about. And then, oh my God, and by the way, Jared Kushner had these meetings, and this person had these meetings, and now Kellyanne Conway has apparently had meetings. Everybody's been meeting with the Russian ambassador. Trump gets on the tweeter and tweets the pictures of Pelosi and Chuck Schumer meeting with the Russian ambassador, who everybody says is a great big spy. And why, if he's a great big spy, is he still in this country as the ambassador? I have no idea. And then now, of course, Obama has been wiretapping Trump Tower. There are 6-foot rabbits chasing Donald Trump around Mar-a-Lago, and everything else. So all of a sudden, it's all just gone right back to hell.
So I think that there's a one of the funny things is I think that the honeymoon itself is a fascinating thing.
It was 36 hours.
I'll say that what existed is troubling me, because my understanding, I'm not quite as oblivious to his speech as I like to tell people I am, or like to think I am. He did not. All he did was take a lot of really awful, horrible ideas and present them without swearing in the middle of it and calling out Arnold Schwarzenegger, and possibly without saying, the New York Times was failing and bad in the sentences. And this is the definition of the soft bigotry of low expectations, is that we're congratulating the man for not completely cocking up the speech. And that's bad. I mean, there's nothing presenting. You can't polish a turd, and these are bad ideas that are going to hurt people, hurt America, hurt our businesses, hurt our foreign alliances, hurt everyone. Phone ringing, and
Bannon's trying to reach you. He's trying to reach me, but instead he got you.
No, I'm in an undisclosed location. I'm not even. That'd be cool. I think they should just tweet me. That's
Bannon. Bannon's got you.
Okay. But with that in mind,
I'm going to ask you to share a snow cone.
Oh. Oddly, no one's answering that phone. That's the weird part. With this in mind, I think that there's a huge.
Because it's on the caller ID, Steve Bannon. That's why.
I thought it just said National Security Council now.
Why would his name be on the caller ID? Anyway.
My recollection from when I worked in the White House is when you outdial, the phone number presented is 456-1212. But it's been like 15 years since I worked there. Anyway, as I was saying, these are bad ideas. They're horrible ideas. These are, I mean, we still have the fact that this wall is going to hurt America economically. We know that, harassing our NATO allies is just going to hurt our foreign relations. And we know that the continued plan to, secure the country via the immigration blocks is just going to hurt us with everybody. And the rhetoric that's associated with it has, actually started damaging our business already, as we see residents of India, for instance, are no longer willing to come to the United States in some circumstances for fear of their own safety. So, I mean, here we have a lot of really bad ideas that are still being presented, but at the same time, just because, he didn't call anybody a bad hombre, all of a sudden he's a winner. I mean, no, this is a soft bigotry of low expectations. This is a beta through and through.
So there was an amazing statement that Pope Francis made last week that I don't know if you heard about it, but he made a comment that said that a atheist who has done good works is more worthy of entering the kingdom of heaven than the most church-going Christian who has lied, stolen, cheated, and has otherwise gone against God's law for, a good portion of their life. It was a fascinating moral discussion. It is something that I personally have believed in for many a year. And I read it on the CNN website, and it got absolutely zero play anywhere, because we're too busy thinking about Trump. And that is one thing that this guy has been very good at making us do, is think about him. And I agree with you with your comments. I'm certainly not validating anything that he said. The only thing that I will observe is that at least for once, he looked good doing it. Now, of course, that all went away, but this is a man who very much plays for approval. He very much wants to be liked, although he every time that he's spurned or rejected, he acts out in the most vile, impersonal ways that, like, if any of our coworkers or any of our bosses would act like he does, you would say, who is this insane man? I want another job, or get me away from this fool. But instead, he's the president.
Yeah, but well, yeah. By the way, I just would like to say we have an inquiry from one of our viewers.
Yes.
They would like to know if we can say cocking up the speech on YouTube, and all I can say is on this network we can.
Well, I think we just did. So we only have a few minutes left, Jamie. So let's talk about our third issue. So I learned this week that I know you're an aficionado, good God, of the James Bond film series, and I learned that another member of your household is also a Bond person. Perhaps you'd like to talk about that for a little.
So, is this where I admit to horrible parenting on the YouTubes?
You can do whatever you wish.
So the other day, Ducky was just not feeling too hot, and we saw her a few minutes ago, on my shoulder like a parrot, and so she wasn't doing too well, and so she stayed home from school because she was sick, and I stayed home from work, but it still had to get some stuff done for work. So I of course, a normal parent would have given her like Sesame Street or something to watch, but we went with Live and Let Die, because that was all. But now, she was very. So we actually ended up doing Live and Let Die, and then The Man with the Golden Gun. And what we've learned is she really likes strong female characters. She was a big fan of Solitaire, for instance, which is fine by me. I mean, that's Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. I mean, that's a pretty strong female character. But I mean, Ducky in general likes really strong female characters, and I think that as much as the James Bond series is played as one that promotes misogyny and sexism, there's usually, I mean, you run the gamut from very weak female characters all the way through very strong female characters throughout the entire series, and you find the strong female characters on both sides, which is also very very interesting. So I thought that was a fun thing, and Ducky's now big fan of Bond. Also, she said that when he announced that he was a secret agent in one of them, she looks at me and goes, "That's just like Perry the Platypus." And I had to ask, it was Perry the Platypus, because apparently that's a thing from Rick and Morty or something like that. Hold on, you've muted yourself, Bill. You're still muted. Yep, you're muted. Let's bring you back up here. Let's see what's going on. Bill, you've what have you done to yourself? This is this is just the capper here on been a really terrible broadcast. It's been so I'm just gonna sit here and keep talking, but I'm gonna leave your face up because you're making some great faces as I do this. So I have no idea what you're saying right now. Oh, can we hear you now? No, that's not it. It actually says here, it shows me that you're muted. I'm gonna see if I can unmute you myself. Is that something I can do? Let's see here. If I put this on, if I put that on. Hold on, hang on. No, now you're definitely muted. I've muted you too. I can turn off your camera. I can do all sorts of horrible things to you now. Oh, I can turn you up, but you still have no volume at all. Oh, well, anyway, I'm just going to, yeah, I love that look here. I'm going to move back to you, though, on this camera and say, Bill, you have a beautiful night. It's been real as always. And this has been by far our worst broadcast. Right back at you, baby. I love you so much. Bye-bye.